Hi, I'm Kathleen.
And I'm Shaun.
And you're listening to the Dead Baby Bear podcast.
Dead Baby Bear. Long story. A podcast starts when you start listening. Prior to that, it's just words in space.
Words in the air.
Words in space.
Wait, is that what is happening above us? Like everything's flying above us? Like all the posts
We're all
on
flying.
social
Everything's
media?
flying. What? Oh,
Like,
this
is that
for
where
social
everything
media.
goes? Up in the air?
I think so. It has to rise, right?
It's all
that
on
social
a-
media smoke rising.
Is it all on like a satellite? Like how does this work? Like what would I think that one day the Russians or someone's going to try to blow up the internet so we lose internet because that would destroy the world.
You think so?
Facebook went down
Sputnik.
for 6 hours and people
Has there
had
been a
meltdown.
Sputnik 2 yet? Maybe we should launch that.
What's
Wouldn't that be
Sputnik?
funny? What's Sputnik? Don't you remember Russian? Why did I laugh at that? Just here's what I do whenever I know something and somebody else
You
doesn't.
laugh
I
at them?
laugh at them. I laugh at them
You
not
idiot!
knowing it.
You idiot!
Yeah, like if I'm like, well, 9 times 9, and somebody's like, is that 8? I'm like,
You idiot!
you don't even automatically know, but I do. Sputnik was like the first satellite dish launched on Earth from Russia.
Oh.
So it launched the entire Apollo program.
Oh.
Because the Americans were like, what the fuck's that?
It's Sputnik.
Like literally, they were like, "What in the fuck?" It was like the first internet post.
Didn't they send a dog up there too named Laika?
I don't know
that.
I
know
don't
the
but
first dog in space.
I like how you knew the animal one and not the one that changed the fucking planet.
Because I don't care about that one at all.
But yeah, it was the first internet post. Essentially, is what it was. It's like and Russia was like, "Eat this," and America was like, "What is that?" Because normally you could just lie, right? Like,
Yeah.
What's Russia doing? But your news was all American news. You didn't have Russian news, so Russia could be up to fucking anything.
They didn't have news?
Russia had news, but it was in a different language that no one wanted to learn,
Yeah.
and it was all in Russia, right? So they had their own propaganda. We had our little
You'd think
propaganda.
that'd be the first thing you'd want to do if you wanted to know more Spina cultures, learn their language. But North Americans are so full of themselves. They're like, I'm not learning that.
People look dumb speaking Russian, so it's a hard one to want to learn unless you're traveling there, because when you watch people speak Russian, you're like, that looks like it hurts.
It does look like
You know
they're
what I
about to
mean?
vomit at any minute.
You're just like, Jesus. You're like, Jesus Christ. Like, just puke and get it over with. Like, they look like they're about to be sick, but they're telling you they love you.
Yeah.
And you're like, Jesus fucking, whoa. And they're like, I just love you, or whatever. Like, they're just so fucking dumb, too, all of them.
All the Russians are dumb.
Well, that's what's weird about Russians is they seem dumb because they speak a language that makes them look dumb when they talk it.
Yeah.
And then they fix crazy problems. And you're like, how did somebody that talks that stupid? And it's like, no, it's just language. It's just like their mouth moves
They
dumb.
probably say stuff about people, English-speaking people.
Their mouth moves in a way that makes them look less intelligent than they are because of the language that they've chosen. I don't know why they it's just weird. English seems like it makes sense, right? When we're speaking it, it's like
because it's what
it does no, but it doesn't make me do anything. I don't have to go boog. It doesn't.
You gesture.
It doesn't have to be performative.
I've seen you on
Russian
stage,
it's like
you
it's
move
it's
your hands
mandatory that it's performative. You can't whisper in Russian.
Yes, you can.
No, that's not even
I don't know
Russian.
why that did not sound Russian.
I
I
don't
am
know.
terrible at accents.
I did my ADHD test today.
Yay! Did you pass?
I passed.
Yeah. Do
with
you have
flying
ADHD?
colors. Well, of course. Who
Of
doesn't?
course, yeah.
What human doesn't?
Yeah. That's not true though, because that's what everyone I feel with ADHD feels. They're like, well, because they're trying to say no. What I feel is normal. Everyone else feels like this. But I've talked to this about this with people that don't have it. They're like, no, I don't ever feel like that, and no, my brain does not go there, and like it's always And then I was talking to somebody about it because they were like, how did you get diagnosed with ADHD? I'm like, well, or what were your symptoms? And then he said, like, because all of my friends that have been diagnosed with it, they always say that like cocaine doesn't do anything for them, that they get tired. And I've done coke a few times, and every time I'm like, I'm sleepy. I'm never like, let's party all night. And I was like, why is it doing this to me? Why am I this way? And then he goes, it has to do with your ADHD because taking an upper.
Yeah, well, I did it at your wedding, and I didn't freak. I did want to go to sleep.
You did freak out a little bit. You sat in my aunt's living room for an hour.
No, but by myself, relaxing with an animal.
Oh, okay.
That's as close to sleep as you can get at a
Yeah,
fucking
you weren't
wedding.
You weren't over there trying to sell a business to my uncle.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't like, listen. There's going to be 3 launches. There's going to be 3 major launches on this. This is a 3-phase. This is a 3-phase launch. You need to get in on the ground floor, Bill.
You said at one point point you were like, I would buy anything from your brother. Like, what was my brother saying to you? Was he trying to sell you trailers? Because he sells
He's
trailers
just one of those
now.
guys that's really like, he's good at either
convincing.
He's got two things where he's like, he can be authentically convincing, or he can go into fake mode and do it as easily that way. So that's when you can tell a guy's like a good salesperson, when you're like, wow, when this guy's being real and legit, he's like a really genuine, like, you're like, fucking, this guy's a genuine guy, and I want to help him out. And then you know that he can like flip it into like, okay, now I'm fake Oliver, but I'm still gonna sell you this shit.
Yeah, my brother's pretty genuine. I love how he like made everybody cry at the wedding because he did that speech and he said, I don't even remember what he said. He's like, did anybody record that? I want to know what I said. But he was just drunk.
Yeah, no, it was a good one.
Everyone cried.
I thought
and
it was
then
a good speech.
My friends Nick and Alyssa called him
And
an emotional terrorist.
I know. Well, usually when people say like, I don't even remember what I said, it's that's what I like to call plagiarism. I just whipped this up this afternoon, and then it's like something that took Mao Zedong 9 years to write. You're like, Jesus Christ, that was pretty good for a little banquet room.
I love that. That's one of my favorite names.
I'm not saying Oliver stole it. I'm just joking.
No. I don't think he could. He thinks it was just off the top of his head. But I love that name, Mao Zedong. If I had a kid, I might name it Mao Zedong.
Mao Zedong. Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun. You can say it any way you want. There's there's a lot of ways to say Mao Zedong.
Yeah, I really love that.
And there's probably people that heard us say that and went, "That's not how you fucking say it." You say Mao Zedong or some fucking weird
That's
shit.
That's like one of my favorite historical names.
English, I stick with this. English is the most natural language for any human mouth.
That's such a white guy thing to say.
Every other language requires your jaw to do something that we weren't supposed to do. Yeah. All the other languages make you go back, make you like hinge. You're not supposed to do that with your mouth.
Not French.
English is the one I think must have been the first language. Had to have been.
No.
It had to have been.
Wasn't it like Latin or something? English was not the first language.
No, it wasn't. But all right, let's do this and get it over with. No,
I was watching The View today, and they had Condoleezza Rice on. Condi Rice. And then they started talking about, because they're going through all this stuff in America, I guess in Canada too, about curriculums. And they were talking about critical race theory. And it was kind of weird because Condoleezza Rice said, like, I don't think we should be teaching, like, children critical race theory, because what I see is that it's just making white people feel guilty for everything that's happened in the past. And I don't think that's what we want to do. We want everybody to learn what happened, but we don't want a whole race of people to feel like it's completely their fault. And I was like, I can't believe that she's saying this. Like, that seemed very.
She is,
but she's a right.
She's sort of like a 61-year-old Candace Owens.
Yes,
a little bit.
Absolutely.
I mean, she was in the Bush administration before it was popular to hire people of color.
Yeah, and that's why she was in the Bush administration.
Conservative. Yeah,
that's what they wanted. That's what Trump wanted. Fucking Omarosa to be, but Omarosa was like, I quit.
I ain't doing this shit.
This guy's crazy.
Yeah, she was smart.
But
I was like,
I'm
out of here.
But it was interesting because I think they really do need to teach real history, but they do need to teach like people like, let's not hate each other now. Let's learn from this history. I think what you have to do is teach what white people did historically, but then also something bad a black person did. You know what I mean? Let's even it out a little bit. Talk about how 1 million Asians were wiped off of the face of the earth because of white people's greed. Yeah.
But then also say, I had an Asian neighbor named Charlie and he'd never cut his lawn. Like, mix it up, right? Tell me some shitty story about Asians and black people. And,
yeah, nobody's perfect.
Right. So everybody's mud is being slung in all directions, and you forget that we're the ones that did the millions and they're the ones that wouldn't fix their fence.
Yeah. Well, like, you have kids. Do you see what they teach them? Like, do you see what they teach them about history in Canada?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I can definitely see why conservatives like Jason Kenney would want to balance the scales, because, it definitely is sort of like, here's Sir John A. Macdonald.
Yeah.
And it's like, he has like a Hitler mustache, like. He is the way that he's taught is he's fucking Adolf.
He's not a hero.
Hitler.
Yeah.
No, he's taught as Hitler.
Yeah.
So, it's not.
But I mean, he did.
He's terrible.
He did try to commit cultural genocide. So yeah, take down his statue. Don't put him on the money. I agree with that.
But leftists have really ruined Thanksgiving for me because now it's all about the food. Nothing. I can't celebrate any other part of it.
But Thanksgiving in America is very different from Thanksgiving in Canada. Like Thanksgiving in Canada.
What's Thanksgiving? What's the difference?
Well,
what are we celebrating?
It's the harvest. No,
it was never about anything.
It was about the harvest. It was about harvest, like farmers harvesting. It has nothing to do with pilgrims. No,
well,
it wasn't.
Fuck? Why do we even fucking have one?
Because they have one. And
But
we had to have one first because.
Oh my god! Why did we co-opt theirs and then have it earlier than them? That's a douche move.
Because it was about the harvest. It was like this around this time. This is when all the farmers are harvesting their.
That's hilarious that
crops.
we both have Thanksgiving and ours is like for us. It's about legumes and roots. It's about legumes and root
it's about
vegetables.
Genocide.
For you, it's about that fucking guy who hung the indigenous from trees and fed them to dogs.
Oh, God.
But for us, it's about fucking watermelons and Yahoo! So why the fuck is ours so much nicer? It is nicer. That's a way nicer thing to celebrate.
It is a nicer thing to celebrate. I mean, I think Canadians still think that there are Canadians out there that think that our history isn't as bad as America's history, but it is still pretty fucking bad. Like it's
bad.
Almost worse actually, because they're like Canada's done a really good job at covering up all of the shittiness.
But I've sort of like
happened.
I don't know. It's sort of like in some ways it's like what I was talking about with when I talked to you about like Chappelle and Chappelle's special and like that one line where he says like, to what extent do I have to participate in your self-image? And it's like, it's pretty easy. You just have to call them what they want to be called.
Yeah.
Like it's not hard.
Yeah.
Like we act like it's fucking hard. But yeah, like the example I gave of Robert, where it's like some guy who's like, my name is Robert, but I please call me Rob. And you're like, fuck you.
I've known you, Robert, your
you
whole
were
life.
born a Robert.
Yeah.
You will always be
Robert.
a fuck. Like we do it all the time. We change people's names all the time. It's not hard. But, that change in language so fast has made us like, we don't look back at all.
Yeah.
Like we don't look back in history. Fucking
No.
Everything that's happening now is the worst it's ever been.
Or everything that's happening now is the first time it's ever happened, which is complete bullshit.
So like that to me, it's like, that's a long way to go. But it's like, Canada, a history of fucking, horror. Yeah, America, but it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's nothing to really feel guilty about.
Well, our children.
Like it's something to learn.
Our children.
But there's no reason to feel guilt because every story starts that way.
Yeah.
So then everybody on Earth should be carrying this
like,
burden
do Germans
of shit.
Feel guilty about the Holocaust? Like, do they feel bad about because they must teach it in school there. They must
maybe
teach it
like
in
the
school.
ones that
very strict laws against
anything strict laws. Yeah. But like as
the
a
ones
German
that live
person,
in the ones that live in Argentina and change their names to like fucking Adolph Maradona. Those ones probably feel a little guilt because they're like, I think my dad did it. Like imagine the day that they're like, actually, you know how my dad said he never killed nobody in Germany? I think he fucking did.
Yeah, what if you found out that someone in your past
or your dad, right? You're like, yeah,
like who was the what was the Garneau? Was it no Garneau? Grandin
Grandin
was that the
Station,
one that
Government
just got
Central.
renamed because he was a horrible person. So
Was he a Catholic? Yeah, and so we would have left him alone for a long time because he was Catholic, right?
Oh, I guess then like not a lot of priests have families, so we don't have to worry about that. But like, what would you do if you found out that like down the line your uncle was Hitler? Like, what would
that's
you do?
fucking cool.
I don't know. If
This changes our crest. This radically changes our crest. Let me go get the crayons. Time to take out the bowling pins and put in human bodies.
Oh my God.
We don't. Sure, we're still known for bowling, but you know what? Murder comes first.
That's amazing. Well, I mean, they're really catching all the serial killers that they couldn't catch now because their relatives are getting those ancestry things done. Like, that's crazy. Can you imagine if your uncle's like, hey, don't get that done. Don't get that test.
No, like I actually wrote a sketch about that. I never did anything with it, but yeah, it was just about a guy who is a murderer.
Yeah.
And then his two brothers want to find their mom. And they're like, they want him to go to 23andMe with them. And he's like, and then he hires a woman to play their birth mother. Like he brings a woman, she's an actress, and he pays her like $50,000 to like pretend to be their mom for the length of the whatever the fuck sketch I wrote.
Yeah.
So yeah, she has to. So I wrote that one, and then at the same time, I wrote one about like a black improviser who comes into a white troupe and like starts dominating.
Yeah.
And is just like, fuck you. Like, but the white people need him in the group. Has to be there. Like
Yeah.
they must have like some diversity. And now they can't get rid of him. You cannot like just get rid of the only black improviser. So he completely begins to dominate and tell them like, go fuck your, like he get like flinches at him and they're like, oh heavens no. Like they're all fucking scared of him. He's like this dominant. And then when they get on stage, he's awesome.
Yeah.
People fucking love this guy. He's the funniest
So they can't get rid of
fucking
him.
guy. No, and they so yeah, the audiences are like, so it becomes their nightmare.
Yeah.
Right? Their nightmare is like they go on stage with somebody who's like emotionally abusing them constantly. And he murders, like Chappelle levels the room. They can't even fucking compete with the heat this guy brings. And then they get off stage and like, what? You fucking, like, and they're like, oh boy, see you tomorrow. See you for rehearsals. What time's rehearsals?
Did you see they had a protest? The people that worked at Netflix were protesting the Chappelle special that should be taken down. I'm at the point where I'm like, I think that there's more important things in the world than you not being able to understand that you don't have to watch that, and it has nothing. I don't know. I'm just tired, and also I'm very tired of how hypocritically it is censorship. It's censorship. That's what they want to do. They want to censor this thing.
Yeah, but Kathleen, it's hate speech.
Oh, it's not hate speech.
Yeah.
It's just so frustrating that this is what's the biggest issue in the world today. Like, people are upset about this. Like,
well, we were talking
there's
about
way worse stuff. People are starving to death in Canada, and people are marching at Netflix to take a fucking special off of a streaming service.
Yeah, we were.
Stop.
Like, we talked about it before the podcast about how, like, you
have to tell everybody what
it was never. It was never about getting it pulled. It was about eliciting a response from a CEO that was conciliatory and made him sort of like have his tail between his legs. And we shouldn't have had, like, they needed to be, as those groups tend to be, is like the winner. We have to be declared the winner. And so it's not about like Chappelle's special can be pulled or not pulled. It's about having video of a CEO, like in a hostage video, like, they're standing around them with swords and he's reading off a sheet. Like, I they'll cut my head off if I don't say this, kind of like. Yeah.
But in the long run,
he didn't do that. He was just like, he acted like a 1980s CEO and was like, yeah, we do it again.
Do you think
it's funny and we do it again?
But do you think that there are people that think that this is hurting Dave Chappelle's feeling? Because I have news for them. He got paid already. I don't think he cares if it gets taken down or not. He's like, I cashed my check.
He doesn't seem to have rejection sensitivity dysphoria.
I don't even know what that means.
You don't know what that is? I learned about it today. ADHD, my ADHD test. Yeah, it's one of the main sort of things of ADHD.
What does that mean?
Because then he was like, well, it's basically like you're wired so that you're you are so attuned to rejection that like everything feels like rejection, or you're assuming rejection is right around the corner. Everybody hates you and you're about to be rejected.
Oh, that's the technical term to how I feel all the time.
So, and then he was like, "Oh, do you feel that?" I'm like, "Yeah, well, yeah." And then he said that usually people like that become like people pleasers. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I probably, because they're people that are like, as soon as they're in a situation with another person, they're like, what does this person want? Yeah. How does this person feel? And I will just give them what they want because I can't be rejected by them. That's horrible. So I was like, yeah, I guess that would fit me, except like if I, I'm this, if I went to people and like, I guess I'm a people pleaser, they'd be like, I don't think so. Yeah. Because you've never pleased anybody. Like no one's ever been pleased by you. So how the fuck are you? It's like the people that are like, I guess I say yes to everything. I just like, I need to learn to say no. And it's like, you've never fucking helped anybody. Like, I hate it when people start talking like that. Yeah. Like, I just need to learn to say no because I just give and I give and I give. I need to be more assertive and I need to learn to say no. I just say yes to everything and I help and I help. And whenever I hear people say that, I'm like, I don't know. Don't. Not really. You just, like most of the people that feel that way, they don't even really do it. Yeah. So, the people pleaser thing was the same where I'm like, I guess, yeah, but if I'm on an elevator, I was just on an elevator and I pressed 4, and then nothing happened. And then I heard a rustling bag and a human, and I fucking just pressed close. I pressed close immediately. I pressed close over and over again. So am I a people like that? I should.
Well, that's your anxiety.
That's
beating.
a person. Why am I not pleasing them? Because
they
haven't seen me. It sort of like shows you that yes, you're a people pleaser, but it's like almost the weirdest version of narcissism ever.
Yeah.
Because that person that's a person outside of the elevator, but they didn't know me or see me.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck you. Like, I will close this.
Yeah.
You will get on another fucking elevator. But had they seen me for even a millisecond, I would have been like, hey, oh, fuck it. Like, I would have, like, oh my God.
He's faking.
I had to, like, I would have lunged to fucking it halfway closed. And I'm like, oh yeah, honey,
But nowadays, because of COVID, it's much easier to say, oh, I'm sorry, you have to wait for the next elevator.
Fuck you.
I did that in hotels. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't want to be on this elevator.
I think they should close from down to up. I wish it did that. You know what I mean?
Down to up?
Yeah, because then I could fucking like duck. Like somebody's coming, get duck. Fucking, you know what I mean?
Have you ever seen anyone actually
because then as soon as it starts to go up, you're like, you can't possibly hop that. Bye.
Have you ever seen anyone actually successfully catch? You're like, oh, I try.
Yeah, I
when
wish
you could have hit the button the whole time.
My arm. I want to see somebody's arm actually fucking come off.
When I went to go get these drinks before the thing, this woman asked for change. I'm like, I don't have any cash on me, and she goes, oh, that's fine. That's fine. I understand. Like, she was so mad at me that I didn't have.
Like, yeah, like, how could you? She doesn't have rejection
like,
sensitivity
thank you,
dysphoria.
that's fine. Like, thank you for letting me know that's fine. Like, and in a very sarcastic way.
When you think about it, rejection sensitivity dysphoria prevents you from ever being in that position. You could never be home, like, on the streets like that ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you just be constant. No, just constantly.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's fine. Like,
that's
listen,
one good
bitch.
thing about ADHD.
Like, it's not 2004. Like, in 2004, you could still be like, do you have any cash? Like, I don't have any cash, just my card. And they'd be like, bullshit. I know you got $18 and a card.
Yeah.
But now, literally, no one has cash.
That's another thing that COVID has helped us with. We don't carry cash anymore.
Yeah.
But soon, most people will have some sort of a square space.
I can't believe they don't.
I can't believe they don't either. I can't believe no one's ever been like, well, this is my e-transfer. Here's my email.
I would be like, like all it takes, you'd be like, I would just be in a group of guys and it'd be like, we got $80, Yahoo. And I'd be like, wait, let's just not drink one day.
Yeah.
And go get ourselves a machine. We just need to get a machine, and then we can, fucking like tap our lives away.
Well, it's kind of funny.
That'd be great. Boop, boop, boop.
I don't know if we have it as much in Canada, but like in America, they have Cash App and they have Venmo, and I see it all over TikTok. Like, Venmo me, Cash App me. Like, people are just like I guess that's how they're making money off of TikTok without like TikTok being involved at all. But it's just like everybody is like expecting people to send them money now. It's so crazy.
How does TikTok make money? Like the same, I guess
I have no idea.
Obviously the same way they all do with ads and shit.
Yeah, with ads.
So how can they still have a model where they just don't pay anybody that's generating?
They do pay people in a state. There is like a creators fund.
Oh.
But Canadians, I don't think get it. But Americans, depending on if you have a certain amount of followers, you get to be part of this creators fund.
I love it how when there's an oversight like that, people act like, oh, it's just some glitch.
Yeah.
It's like, no, these things are all on purpose. Like,
but now I'm seeing people literally make TikToks that are like, hey, like, and they're using this sound where they're basically like, pay me. And they say, here's my Cash App. You follow me, give me money. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? It's like homeless people, but it's on TikTok, and it's people that already have homes and have some money already.
And it's crazy too, because when you think of the average homeless person, nobody has more views than these people. You know what I mean? Who's been viewed more times than a guy on the fucking street? I mean, that is these guys are up.
They are seen by so many eyes every day.
So like, we don't even like. These are the most famous.
Homeless people do have the most views.
They do. Most.
They do.
Nobody's got more eyeballs on them than them. And I have no idea why people aren't like, like, hey, do you mind? Like, why not be like, hello, homeless person.
Yeah.
Where do you mainly, what's your area? Oh, I'm in front of the fucking, the Hotel McDonald. Me and Jimmy. All right, please wear these Grindstone Festival t-shirts in your travails and we'll give you $50.
Yeah. We should start doing that. But actually, we should start solving homelessness instead of getting them to be ads.
No.
homeless people.
No, I think it's time for them to be broken billboards.
Broken billboards.
The broken billboards of society.
Well,
Because,
that
I mean, they got millions of views,
They
McGee.
do. They do. Well,
And we
that
don't
was
give them
like
any money.
a huge. So there was the election, and what's his face did not win.
No, our guy. Who's our guy? Who was our guy?
Wolanski or
Wolchansky.
Wolchansky? Sorry, Josh. You're
Oh,
a
no.
loser.
He didn't make it?
No.
Was he too racist or not racist enough?
I don't know what he was. It was, but a lot of women won, except for, of course, not the mayor. But a lot of women did win. But a lot of the mayor people, people that were running for mayor,
Mayoral
they were
candidate.
trying to like talk about like we really have a bad homeless problem here. And I heard something in Calgary, the mayor that went down there, she wants to like start putting the arts community into all these old buildings that the oil people are vacating because the oil is dying, and now these oil people are like, oh yeah, the arts really make a lot more money, and they want to start turning their empty office buildings into homeless, which is what I've been saying this whole time. These buildings that are sitting empty, let's like turn it into a place where people can live and get better. But yeah, I don't know where it was going.
We can end it.
But yeah,
Only we can.
I just think it would be. I don't understand why they don't do that. Why do they don't have like a place where homeless people can go and live, like in these empty buildings?
Because so much of it is about mental illness, right?
Well, that as well. I get that. And
so if you give somebody who's extremely sick, like emotionally, like mentally sick,
yeah,
fuck you.
Oh my God, turn your phone off.
Who the fuck would
During
call me
a
from Stony
professional-
Plain?
What does that say? Oh, Alberta.
Alberta from Stony Plain.
Probably a
Nobody's
big
calling
Christmas
me from
gig.
Stony Plain. I don't fucking know anybody.
You're
in
not
Stony
gonna answer,
Plain.
and then it's gonna go to somebody else.
And then I'll like look at the text thing, the
should answer
voicemail
it
text.
and
I'm
put
not
it on
answering it.
speakerphone.
No fucking way.
I know. I hate.
Remember the
answering my
last
phone.
time I answered a phone here, where I was like, "That's an interesting number."
Oh yeah, it was the.
And then it was like, Revenue Canada right before a podcast. And then the whole time I'm like,
stressed out.
why did that guy, what happened? Especially since I treated him like a piece of shit. Because I was like, sure, Revenue Canada.
He's used to it.
He had a really dumb name. It was like Just Circus or some shit. It was like,
Circus?
I don't even know what it was, but it was so bad. Hi there, I'm Just Sweets. Like, sure you are.
I was rude to an Uber Eats salesperson today because they called the restaurant and they're like, "Hi, is your manager there?" And I was like, "No, they just left for a meeting. Sorry." Oh well, what is their name? And so I stupidly said their name, and then I'm like, "Oh no, now you're just getting information from me, so you can call again and ask for the person." And then he kept asking questions. And like when are they there? And who else is there? What are the names of the other people? And I just finally, I said, I'm not doing your research for you. I'm busy. And I hung up on him. I'm so sick of people. I'm so sick of being kind to people.
I think you have ADHD, the one that doesn't have that.
That doesn't care?
Doesn't have the rejection sensitivity dysphoria.
Well, I think I have it, but I've created some excellent coping mechanisms.
You're coping with it so
I'm
beautifully.
coping with it so well.
Nobody's coping with it better than you.
I'm one of the greatest copers alive. I'm not. If I'm gonna toot my own horn about something, I cope well.
Wouldn't it be funny if we like cut open our brains and found out like, oh, she had it way worse, but she must have been stronger. Like, she must have been
when
like,
I got
way better as
diagnosed,
a person.
the psychologist said you have some incredible coping mechanisms that you've created throughout your entire. Like he's like, I'm impressed with a few of them, but not all of them.
I'm impressed by them all. Not well, because we worked together, didn't we? We were in Fort McMurray.
We were in Fort McMurray.
What a fun.
Oh man,
town.
that was a fun time. I'm just really glad I didn't get really drunk on the Friday night because what happened Saturday would have been suspicious, but it wasn't suspicious. Well, basically, this has never happened to me before in my life.
You cheated on Adam.
I cheated on Adam all weekend long with the toilet. No, I was feeling icky before the show. Like I woke up from my nap and I'm like my cheeks were all red and I'm like, but I didn't feel like feverish or COVID-y.
Was Eugene doing anything like, oh?
No.
No, Mom, don't go.
No.
No, he didn't do anything weird. Yeah, he should have been able to pick up on it.
He should have warned me.
Yeah.
He's not one of those epilepsy dogs, though. He doesn't warn me when... He should warn me before I'm having a bad set. Mom, you're going to have a bad set. Don't go to this one.
Okay, I won't go. All right, I'll open.
But I went up first, because you went up first the night before. And then I get up there, and I'm like, I didn't feel good. And then like 10 minutes in, I was like, oh, God, I'm not feeling good at all. I'm feeling really nauseous. And then I asked for some water. And then I'm going to push through. I can just make it through this 45 minutes. It's going to be fine. And then at like the 15-minute mark, I just was like, Ty, could you please come back to the stage? I need to leave. I'm feeling sick. Not COVID sick, but I'm feeling sick. And I like beeled off and vomited in the, I've never had to leave the stage, but yeah, but that was so embarrassing. And like, I've never had to do anything like that before. And then you had to follow that, the hero.
I mean, you don't get a lot of credit. You had to follow that.
Follow that one, Shaun. I dare you.
Yeah, luckily they weren't a good crowd, but they had a tiny bit of juice.
Yeah.
So it wasn't horrible, but
did they notice that I left because I puked or what?
I don't know. They probably, like, when a girl leaves the stage, you're never sure if it's pussy or mouth. But like, pussy, mouth, or ass, or it's either mouth and ass or pussy, right?
Oh my god.
So they weren't sure if it was an ass, mouth, or a pussy one.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell them. It's not none of my business, right? So I was just like, oh, so it wasn't a big deal. I think at some point I addressed it. It was like, well, I guess Kathleen is not coming back up. Right? That dream is dying, folks. Like,
I did say I could go back up because I was feeling better, but then they were just like, we'd rather like, just in case someone's like,
no.
just in case someone's like, not just like, oh, the comic was sick and then they let them come back up. I was like, okay, I understand. So I just left.
Well, and Ty didn't know how my time works, because he saw it from an audience member's perspective. So he was like, 90-minute show. So then I was like, how much time? What are we okay for time or something to Ty?
Yeah.
And then Ty was like, 2 minutes left, and I'm like,
oh god,
really? Did you have to fucking you could have been
2
like,
minutes.
you're good or whatever, but. No, it was funny, but he's like, yeah, 2 minutes, and then I get off, and I'm like, and he was looking at the 90 minutes, and I'm like, no, dude, you're reading the wrong part of the contract.
45, yeah.
I am looking I'm looking at the mins.
Just because
I'm looking at
Kathleen
the minimum
only
thresholds.
did 15 minutes of her 45 minute set does not mean I cover it.
If I see it says 75 to 90, I just might as well fucking just redact the dash and the 90 because the only target I have is that 7.5. But Ty didn't know that, right?
No.
And I was way over it. I don't know why. We had another guest spot that came in and did some time.
Yeah.
And then, she could have just like given the mic back to Ty so he could give me a proper intro. But she was like, I don't know who this is. Shane LeBronskins.
Yes, she fucked his name up. I was leaving when you.
But like, it was kind of like that's one thing when you have rejection sensitivity dysphoria, Kathleen.
Okay.
You can
you
can determine the difference between malice and indifference.
Okay.
And I was like, this is malice. This is like a weird one where you're like, she kind of did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Where she like made it clear that she didn't know who I was and wanted the audience to know, like,
that's your perception.
No, I'm good. Like, I actually am good at certain things.
Okay.
You have good coping mechanisms. I'm good at being able to sort of read people. Yeah. So I could tell that. It wasn't just, I'm so sorry, like, because usually, if you don't know who it is, you're just like, I'm sorry, but she was it was her confidence in not knowing that gave it away. Okay. Right? Like, usually if you don't know something, you're it's like when somebody says, like, get pulled over by the cops for speeding, and they go, I was lost. And it's like, no, you weren't, because you were speeding. But I was lost. Nobody who's lost speeds. So with her, I knew... Like, no. She was like, I don't know who this is. Here he is. Shaun Pancake Zone.
Shaun Pancake Zone.
But it wasn't like she wasn't backing into the wrong word. She was leaping forward with the wrong word.
I did notice that because I was leaving to go back to my room and I heard her bring you up and I laughed my ass off all the way back to the room.
But it was like, it was so wrong, but it was confidently delivered. Yeah. Shaun Hazeltine Breath. And I'm like, wow, I've never heard anybody step into that name like that. Like, it wasn't even close. And she wanted to be clear, like, because I think she books shows there too. Yeah. So it was like one of those like, so I didn't know. So I'm not smart enough to be able to smell a rat. Yeah. But I can like piece things together. So I was like, I don't know what. Yeah. Why did she do that? Like, it was so unnecessary. And then you're like, oh, like, she book shows here. Yeah. Gotcha. So now I know. Like, yeah. So she's bringing a comedian in. She's definitely going to say his name absolutely correctly.
Yeah.
Nail the enunciation.
Especially if
because
it's a hard name to
she's
say.
stroking the $2,000 check. But when it's like a competitor's show at a venue that she's trying to poach like an egg, you're going to be like, Shaun Brazeltines. Don't know. Sorry, folks.
Where do you come up with these?
Nobody
amazing
knows
last
who he
names?
is, folks. But next month, come back because everybody knows, fucking Paul Rablaski-Yauskas. Or however you say that. Was that racist to get it wrong?
No.
Good.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't
Nobody
know what's-
listens to that. That's the thing that's
Nobody
great about
listens
this
to this.
podcast is I've never gotten any negative feedback ever.
No, because
Because
nobody listens.
fucking there's no comments. I looked at our metrics. That was a quick read. I went on Facebook and dove into and I'm like, this had like fucking 2 engagements or whatever. Like 2. We have podcasts with like one person clicked on it and then unliked it several days later. You're like, how to fucking there was one where we got like 2 likes and then 3 days later they got cold feet and unliked it.
Unliked it? How do you unlike a status?
I don't know.
That's
Why 2 days
crazy.
later, too?
Yeah.
It's a weird length of time to sit with a podcast and then go, wait a minute.
This wasn't for me.
I don't want my Aunt Rita checking into my and then like, oh, he liked this.
What a psychopath.
Oh, my heavens.
Just like Wendy McGee used to say, I don't like the dead baby chatter.
Oh, we don't really do a lot of dead baby talk anymore.
we never
We've even
really
moved on from
did.
the
It was like that
Holocaust.
one
No, it
episode.
was like the first one where we talked about a baby spinning on a thing.
Oh, before I came here, I was watching. I've never heard of this movie before. It's called Ghost Ship. Have you ever heard of it? It's like a horror movie, and it's like Juliana Margulies from ER and Gabriel Byrne. I just saw the beginning of it, and it has one of the greatest group death scenes I've ever seen in my entire life. So it's like this boat in the 60s, and all these people are at this like ball or whatever on the boat. Everyone, all the passengers that are there, and there's one little girl there. And at some point, everyone's dancing around on the dance floor. Something snaps, and a guy wire just slices through the entire crowd. And like
Only
all of
the
a sudden,
kid.
like you just see everybody kind of just like stop, and they're like, "What?" And then you start seeing blood fall, and then people start falling because they got sliced in half. And the girl didn't get sliced in half because she was short. So that's for
Wow.
short people. That's how short people are gonna win.
That's amazing.
But it was one of the greatest. I've never watched a horror movie and thought, Jesus, that's creative. But I watched it, I was like, oh, what did I just watch? Like that was
and it's
probably
kind of cool how they all died in different ways.
they like
Right, like
some
guy
people got ahead.
like fucking dick
Yeah.
right at his dick, and some lady lost just right above her eyebrow, just top of your brain,
Yeah.
gone. Probably still walking around.
They
like,
did.
"Ah."
They had some of them like rolling around, like still alive. There was a lady next to her legs, and she was like grabbing
How long
for
does
them.
it take to die before that? Like, if
Well,
you
if
just
you
got
look
cut
at a
in half.
chicken, the way they kill chickens, they cut their heads off.
Mm-hmm.
We used to do that at our farm, and it used to be horrifyingly fascinating to watch it. Like they chop the head off, and then the chicken just bounces around for a while, shits itself, and then eventually
What
dies.
does the head do?
I don't know. I never went up and looked.
No, I just wonder, like, is the head? 'Cause
I
the
bet
head's
you
where the
still
brain
blink.
is,
I bet you
right?
still blink a little bit. I bet your head is still doing stuff for a bit until your brain loses
Your
all
head's
the
like,
oxygen and
What
it's
the
dead.
fuck? Why am I running around?
Yeah. Why are my legs there? Why am I here?
Why am I running over there? What?
Yeah. I kind of want to watch that scene again because I was sort of half watching it and then I saw what happened and I was like, is that what just happened? And then you just start seeing people fall in half and I was like, even when I saw it happen, I'm like, well, they're not going to show people just fall apart. Oh yeah, they did. They showed like the bodies getting cut in half. It was a good horror movie.
Well, I will say that you handled like pre-vomit pretty well.
I was a professional about it.
You were very professional.
I didn't like make anyone panic.
Mm-hmm.
I just was like, hi, I'm going to need you to
Hi
come
there.
back up
Now
here.
that I'm done my extended guest spot,
Yeah.
I need somebody to help.
Oh, and to make matters worse,
Oh, yeah.
I go and I'm barfing and I put my phone on top of the toilet and I'm barfing. And then I look and I was still recording and I'm like, of course. I haven't listened to it yet because I don't want to hear myself barf.
No, but the way you write, there might be something good in there. You might be like, you know, fucking, and you're like, okay, all
That's my
right,
new-
okay, now we're talking.
That's my new closer.
You go on stage like, all right,
Is she Russian?
all right, cross that off the list. Cross that off of
Why
the
is
list.
she speaking Russian?
Oh yeah, I was looking at the Comedy Factory website. They got it's
do they still have the same one? Is it still that
it's
like
still good. Yeah,
it's still that
fantastic.
Angel Fire Flash website. That I
Click
didn't
here
even-
for Flash Player
I
or
didn't
something.
even
It's like
know
one of
that
those.
that
You
was
have to like
that-
click
I
on
didn't
a.
even know that would still be supported.
Oh, it'll still be supported, and he still has the he still has
He has
comedians on.
Comedians. He's got comedians and
comedians with it's and then 3 of the comedians are dead.
Oh God! But
Yeah,
he
he hasn't
still
taken
book
them back.
them.
Yeah. No, he'd probably be more likely to get them to do it than the living
Look
ones.
at this website.
You have to click a tiny image
'Cause
inside.
It's not a mobile. He doesn't have a mobile site.
No, so you have to you have to click a tiny image that's inside of that
It
to
looks
get to
like
the actual
MySpace.
fucking calendar.
Remember MySpace when you could like? It is. It's very vintage.
And the bios are great because it's like I always like C Club bios.
Just read a bio. Don't say their name, but read one of the bios.
He's been pursuing his dream of becoming a comedian since he was a young boy. He's been performing and studying acting, drama, sketch. You know, like it's the ones they usually start from birth, right? It's usually like a birth story. Like, the comedian's gonna suck when his bio starts with "born in a hospital on a cool October evening.
Show me.
It
who
was
is.
overcast."
Show me who it is. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
He won't give a
That
fuck.
guy?
Yeah,
Oh, this is the list of who's coming.
yeah. That's
oh my
the upcoming
God.
events.
Oh, so these are like people that are
These are humans that are alive and still,
and the headshots. Oh, the headshots are good.
yeah, they are classy.
Oh my God. Oh no. No women
Yeah.
are playing that club.
No, those comedians aren't.
But
ready.
this is the one club that no women are like watching and be like, why don't you have women? They're like,
Yeah, you're
"Please
right.
don't book
You're
us."
right. I do not think I have seen a woman.
Yeah.
Wow, you're right.
I
I've
knew of,
never
like-
seen one, and I
I-
never thought of that because I'm a guy. But I honestly never thought of that. But you're right. I have literally never.
Yeah.
And now that I rack my brain, there isn't one. Like I
could
cannot
see
think
their
of one.
reasoning for not booking a woman being like, oh, I just don't want any sort of sexual harassment story, so we'll just not book them at all. Like, I feel like that might be their reasoning.
Well, the other thing, yeah, he's a greaseball, the guy that owns the place too. Like, for the first 2 years I did comedy, that's the only place I did comedy, and I just assumed that every comedy club owner had an office filled with shredded documents. I was just like, oh, I bet you then in the next comedy club office I walked into, I'm like, where's all your shredded documents? And they're like, what are you fucking talking about? And like, but what do you do with all your old headshots and
Yeah.
paperwork? And they're like, I throw it into the recycling. I'm like, but you don't destroy it into tiny pieces first so that it's untraceable
My
to
favorite-
Revenue Canada and your competitors?
My favorite story about that club was when he put on like the voicemail. So when you call into the club, it tells you who's there that week and like
Right.
blah, 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 blah. And then this isn't the name of the headliner because I don't know.
Well, it happened to me. I was the one that was there. That was, yeah.
So you you were there with her.
I was there with her. I picked her up.
Yes.
And then she's the one that told me the story. It was like Olivia Arrington.
Yes.
Where he did one of those, what's that movie with Richard Pryor where he's about to move into that house and then they start joking about what they're going to take with them. They're like, oh, yeah, the pool. We're taking that with us. And then they're like, just kidding. And then they go around like, look at that. We're taking that with us. And then they just laugh. They don't say just kidding. And then at the end, they've taken like all of the things that they didn't say just kidding afterwards. Like they were like, well, we didn't say we were just kidding after we said the hot tub. We are fucking taking it. So it was like Bob told Olivia Arrington, like, I'll give you a ride from the airport. Or I'll give you a ride airport or something. And then she's like, so she shows up at the airport and he's not there.
Nope.
So, and he's like comic book cheap, right? So he didn't.
Yeah, he would give us his Esso extra card and say, please stop at Esso's when you fill up. I'm like, I'm not getting points for you.
He would try to get you to drive an hour out of your way to drop off show posters
to a different
so
town.
You're like,
yeah.
when you're on your way to Vegreville, can you stop in Bonneville and drop off these Rob Pugh headshots?
Yeah.
I'm like,
no.
what?
Yeah.
But yeah, so he So Olivia waits at the airport. She's like, well, I've been told I have a ride. So she calls Bob, and he only has one number, and it's the club line.
Yeah.
Straight to voicemail. And then she says that it's like, hi, this week we've got Brian work. Friday, Saturday shows at 8 p.m. and 10:30 on Saturday. Tickets available at the club, $10 each. Come down and enjoy a night of laughs. Olivia, take a shuttle to the hotel. And that's what the voicemail said.
He left a secret. Remember how we used to have CDs? And we had secret songs? He left a secret message for her. Yeah, look at Jim's face right now is priceless.
Because, and I mean, here's how malicious, at least how disgusting and hilarious.
I love how long the pause was,
because
too.
he knew, like, any other human is going to just hang up. Like,
Yeah.
I got the information I need. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Bye. The only person on earth
who's
who's so desperate
to leave a message
is Olivia. That's the only person who's going to listen because that's the only contact she has.
Yeah.
So in his mind, he's like, well, she either doesn't listen to the message and gets her ass to the hotel, or she keeps listening to the message and then blah, blah, blah. And then if I get to the club and she's like, you fucking, I can be like, didn't you get the message when you called the club? I left a message on the voicemail for you. I told you to handle it your own on your. And then she was like, you told me you were going to pick me up from the airport. No, I said I was going to go to the airport on the way.
At some point in my life. At some point in my life, not the day you came in though. I got busy.
Yeah. But he's and you know, he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys where you're just sort of like, it's the thing I hate about religion.
Yeah.
Where so many crooked people can just like have a cross around their neck, and now they have some legitimacy in terms of their ethics.
Yeah.
Right? We just assume good ethics.
Yeah.
Because they have that.
But nowadays, I actually, when I see someone with a cross, I assume bad ethics.
Right. You wouldn't be inclined to assume one way or the other now. But like when I was fucking around there, yeah, definitely like a guy fucking you with a cross didn't look like he was fucking you. It was like, well, he must be, you know.
He would make comics like walk up Calgary Trail on like the busy part of the road because he wouldn't come down a block to pick them up from the club to the shitty hotel that he would put them up at.
He had worked out an arrangement with the hotel that he had people at where a lot of times the checkout was 11 and they weren't leaving to get on the road until 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So he had worked out an arrangement where the headliner could stay in the room from 11 until they were being picked up by the opener, but they had to not touch furniture. So I would go and pick up headliners who would be standing like in the room.
I hope that there are club owners.
Like,
maybe Tyler from Winnipeg is listening to this, and maybe he's going to change up how he does his don't touch the furniture comics.
Well, it's sort of like you get into one business and you have bad ethics and you're a scoundrel, and it doesn't really fly because people are like, fuck you, pay me.
People are so desperate in comedy.
Then they get into comedy, so shady people get into comedy, and not many people are saying, fuck you, pay me. They're just saying, please let me go on do the thing.
Especially like a C-level club. Like, none of those comics are going to act like a diva.
Well, you'd be surprised.
Really?
Oh, fuck, are you kidding?
Do they really?
Divas live everywhere.
Oh,
Divas live at every level of the ocean. Every fucking level. You trowel the bottom of the ocean and there's some guy that comes up like, I thought there'd be Fiji here. You know, so like these guys are in the dregs, right? They're in the net right next to the fucking decomposed, you know, dolphin that died 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, and they still come up like, fucking, I'm killing it. I'm doing more than you fucking goof. Like the last time I went to that club, they all, like the owner and the people that were there were like, I thought you quit. You're still doing it?
No, I just quit this place.
We were asking around about you, and some people
God.
said you were like dead, and others had said that you were alive but not doing it.
That'd be
so
funny.
it's just nice to see you're kicking.
That'd be funny if you came in and you screamed. He's like, the ghost of Shaun the He's haunting my comedy.
And I predicted it. I told the other comedians I was with, I'm like, guarantee you he's gonna act like he's like, oh, what the fuck?
But
like, you're still
in his defense, the people on there's somebody on that list that I was like, he's still doing it.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, because I never see him at other clubs.
But it was more like, oh, I've been asking around to see if you had like what had happened with you, and nobody had a clue.
What's the pay like there? I wonder, because I think I headlined it.
It's usually $75 a show.
Oh my god!
But then he'll super middle you, so there was always this deal where you're headlining, but then if the numbers don't look good, then you're the middle actually.
Yeah.
And then he's the headliner.
Oh my god.
But then he doesn't headline, he just does an extended extra. Right. So now you've been moved from a $75 position to an unpaid position. But again, like scoundrels that get into this business, they know that people in this industry aren't like, fuck you, pay me. They're like, please give me stage time. Fuck you, give me stage time.
And they have this crazy longevity. The scoundrels have so much longevity. Like,
well, and then the comedians that you bump to middle, they stay.
Yeah.
Not only do they stay, they perform.
Yeah.
Not only do they perform, they do their headline time.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like,
I used to see comics like bussing tables after shows there.
Yeah, full Stockholm syndrome. Full Stockholm. Like
bussing tables.
Like literally, there was he would bring comedians. Like this is on another level, but a lot of people. Some people are like this in the industry, where like he would meet people at the gym. And he would hear their stories in the locker room about them having money or like being in Mexico or being at different properties or whatever, right? And then he'd be like, boy, you're funny. You seem really funny.
Oh, no.
You should come down to the comedy zone in the alley there. Like, so he would like convince them to like, and some of them would be like, sure. Like they're successful business people that are like, well, I guess I do have a couple of yuckles in me. And then, and then he knows, like, once the bug is in him, once I've planted this fucking bug, like, here's the microchip in your vaccine. Yeah. Like, I track this motherfucker for the rest of his life. Once he gets up there and does 8 street jokes and gets a pretty big laugh and nobody calls him on it because he's in the most horrible club in the fucking world.
He's the new corporate entertainer.
Now he's like, I love it. Yeah. I love this. I want to come back. And then Bob's like, hey, just wondering if there's any availability in your timeshare in the Bahamas. So then you'll see like photographs of him like with a cross around his neck, no shirt, underwater, like fucking scuba diving with Jesus, golden Jesus right under him at one of his comedians' properties in the Bahamas. God. And then you flash forward to his club. That comedian whose fucking house he's staying at is operating the sound and all the lights at his club, like working the club, like getting the show started and off the ground. And then I would go back to the club, and then the owner, Bob, would be there, and he'd be like, I'm just getting the fellas some food. They did a good job running the show for a couple weeks for me there. And then I'd look, and he had like a plate of bald wings. Bald wings. That's all I remember. 100 bald wings. On a paper plate. 100 bald wings on a paper plate. No, not a drumstick. No drumsticks. No drumsticks. All of the whatever. Did they still
have the pointy tip out?
Yeah, they all had
the. Oh my god.
Yeah, and like the ones that are just like one side meat, one side bone.
Reject
those
wings.
So they're all reject bald on a paper plate.
God.
Just paying the fellas back for all the hard work they done.
And they come back.
May the Lord bless their evening.
May the Lord.
May the Lord bless their weekend.
He also was a club that had a no swearing rule.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he could fuck you, but you couldn't say it.
Yeah. Bob's screwing us around here, but that would probably be
Yeah.
No.
Horrific. Yeah. Like horrific. And that's the thing about when you think about stand up, like the chasm between the kind of life Chappelle has and the kind of life like a Bob Angeli on the way down, not on the way up, because there are like good comedians that go there that are like on the way. And they're just like, it's a double manipulation where you're okay with it because it's like a dual. I'm using you for stage time, and then once I'm good enough, I'm fucking out of here.
Yeah.
And you're using me because you like free and cheap labor, so this is good. But the people that are actually legit on their way down, in their 60s, and they're going to that room to make the money.
Yeah.
They need the money. Like, I mean that. There's nothing scarier in the world to me than that.
No.
Like that's why like I got to get a day job and probably
back to school. I got to do something.
Probably keep the day job, right? Because I can't
I really
do
need
that.
to fall back.
I cannot.
Yeah.
I will not be 62 and going to Bob's room to headline it and having him come up to me afterwards like, were you working on some new stuff there? Because that wasn't the A game, was it, fella? And I'm like, Bob. I'm going to go fucking jump off a fucking bridge.
Oh, my God.
Bob Angeli is telling me to do my old stuff because he doesn't want to pay me to work on new material.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to go kill myself.
This is why comedy is so sad, because like it works for a few people and and that's who you see and you're like, wow, they really made it. But you don't understand that there's like for every comic that makes it, there's 100 that don't, and then of those 150 just keep pushing and pushing until it's sad.
Well, we always, I mean, the thing is like sometimes we talk about like, when you're a bit younger, you think the saddest thing that can happen in comedy is that you stop doing comedy.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, they don't do it anymore. Oh, they don't do it anymore. Like, oh my, what the? Like, that's the worst outcome is that you don't do it anymore. And then after a while, you're like, that ain't the worst outcome.
Yeah.
The worst outcome is you're 63. You're at the 28-minute mark of your headline set at the Comedy
tired.
Factory for $75.
Yeah.
And you can see Bob tapping his foot at the back of the room. And you know that means we need to have a conversation afterwards about the content. And you're like, am I honest to God about to have a fucking conversation at 63 with a 78-year-old Bob with a 78-year-old Bob Angeli about my material choices so that I can get that $75. I have to have that $75. So I still have to fucking kiss his cross. So I'm never going to let that happen.
This is depressing. I'm going to scan this and hope that we've won $1 million.
Good.
So we can gracefully leave comedy. I was talking, I think it was with, like I did a Darren and Dave podcast. I cheated on you guys last night.
Uh-oh.
And
how did that one go? It's funnier than this, right?
I don't know. They're different. But I was talking about because we were talking about, I've said it before. I'm like, having a baby is a great out for a female comedian. Because no one's going to be like, oh, she gave up on her dream. Everyone's going to be like, she just wanted to be a mom.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd rather do the guy one where you pretend that you moved back to your hometown. You pretend you moved back to your hometown to take care of an ailing relative.
Yeah.
Because that one you don't even actually have to be.
You
don't even have to be doing it.
Yeah, you look like a hero.
Right, you can not even be doing it. You can just be like, I moved back to Burlington to take care of my mom. And she's not doing good. And then the reality is you see her once a week. You go, and then she makes the dinner.
Yeah.
She makes fucking dinner. You go over to her house once a week. She makes dinner. You're living off of their fucking money.
This is so depressing.
But if you're a woman and you have a baby to get out, now you got a fucking baby to take care of.
I know. Isn't that
That's
horrifying?
a lot of goddamn work.
Oh, no. I'd rather. Yeah, you're right. That's too much work.
Yeah.
But
do the guy one.
But it is, as a woman, it's the easier way out to look graceful and. But she just wanted to be a mom so bad.
Was this a super depressing podcast? I didn't feel like it was just at the end. Just the end.
Just when we started talking about our future.
Oh, but I mean, it's still funny to me. Like
it's funny.
And the reason it's funny, to me, it's not depressing because I'm not going to let it happen.
Yeah.
Like I see the guys that it's happening to and I feel bad. I do feel genuinely bad for them.
Yeah.
Because they're good people and they don't deserve that.
And they were never diagnosed with ADHD.
Right. But there are, and I mean, I don't mind talking about it because there are people in this industry that are just like horrible human beings. Like in any industry, but like super predatory.
Yeah.
And they're around forever. They never go away. And that's the problem is you don't have these predators come in and then like 5 years later they're gone. They're here forever.
Yeah. Unless they're fully canceled by the whole community.
But they're running the game forever. As long as they stay in the shadows, right? As long as they're in the upstairs of a bowling alley with fucking little Annie Frank, they're fine. But, so they're never going to figure that out.
Imagine if they were in a bowling alley. It would have been easier for them to be loud. They would
Why
just time their
think of
footsteps
that?
with a bowl.
Yeah,
with a ball.
they just got to wait for fucking... All right, I'm going to make dinner. Wait for a gutter. Don't stop... Do not start that oven until you hear a gutter ball.
I want to dedicate this episode to Anne Frank. Thank you for...
Yeah, anything rolling on wood will get us killed.
I mean it in a nice way. We appreciate you for everything that you did so that we can joke about you now. I bet you she had a great sense of humor. I actually saw an article recently.
That she was boy crazy. I heard about that.
Yes, that's the article.
Yeah.
She was boy... I'm like... And I kind of just was like, this is the sweetest thing ever. Because it's just like, oh no, because it was also very sad because it very humanizes.
For sure.
Not that she wasn't a human before, but it was like a book before. But now her friend's like, no, she was just like this boy, crazy girl. Because I'm like, yeah, how old was she when she was there? Weren't you in the play?
I was in the play.
She was like 13 or 14.
I was the Van Domsler boy or something like
Yeah.
that. I had a cat. I had a kitty cat. I had a cat in a cage. And little Annie Frank wanted to get down.
Yeah. I feel bad for people that were in their teen
Like,
years.
if we get busted fucking, like if the Germans come up because we were, think about
that's
that.
bad.
It's like, you think it's bad that your parents caught you having sex. You know what I mean?
The
What's
Nazis catch you.
German-
This podcast?
Because then you're thinking to yourself, what are the odds that mom's doesn't know? You know what I mean? Like,
They're going to tell mom.
they're going to tell mom we were fucking. Like, anyways, let's end it on that. It's just getting worse. Every
Yeah.
time I talk, it gets worse. We might as well stop.
Yeah, go to our Patreon and pay for this
Fuck
fucking
off.
episode.
Nobody's doing
That's
it.
what we should do. We should have like a Patreon, but the worst parts of the episode are on the Patreon. When it gets real dark and bad.
God, imagine trying to tease people into. If you liked what you just heard, that was a sample of the dead baby. Jesus Christ.
The dead baby
Please
Jesus
pay
Christ.
$2.99 for the rest of it. Like, fuck you. Like, only Bob Angeli does. Like, oh, I will pay, and then they'll pay.
They'll pay.
First
They'll
I'll
never
pay.
do a spot
First
again.
I'll pay, then they'll pay.
Or they can come and do a spot, but I'm not giving them a free bowling game.
Olivia,
Take
a shuttle to the hotel.
Brilliant. All
Okay,
right.
bye.
Bye.